Thomas, you can start.
Hi, I'm Thomas and I'm a care experienced young person.
Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel and I'm a care experienced young person as well.
And Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren. I work for Who Cares Scotland. I'm currently the Development Officer for West Lothian Champions Board, and I also happen to be a care experienced young person.
Hey, I'm Piers McCusker and I'm a senior lecturer in social work at the University of Edinburgh with a long-term standing interest in mental health.
Yeah, I'm Autumn Marsh. I'm also a senior lecturer at the University of Edinburgh and previously a residential worker and a qualified social worker. And I've worked a lot on trying to find ways to support people with care experience better.
I'm Christina McMillan. I'm a researcher across Glasgow University and Edinburgh University, and have a particular interest in co-production and co-producing research with young people. Piers, do you want to tell us a little bit about how it all started?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so actually it's more than 3 years ago when the gem of the idea began, and I was still working at Glasgow Caledonian Uni, and I was involved with the Service User and Carer Network there, and Karen Kearney, who I think all of you know, came along one day with one of the young people she was working with on the Champions Board, and they talked about this idea because they felt that particularly people in residential care, the professionals involved, the care staff, they felt they really didn't understand the mental health needs of care experienced young people. They were emphatic that there was a huge gap in terms of their knowledge and skills. And so given our interest in service user and care involvement and co-production in terms of research, we thought this would be a great idea.
So I used to work as a residential care officer, residential worker, and before I came into academia, and also had other social work jobs, and I think when Piers came to talk to me about the idea, it really made sense, because we were trying to think as well about ways of involving young people and people with lived experience more in the training of social workers as well. And this seemed like a really exciting way to work in partnership and really build the project, because it was coming from the young people themselves. So that was quite exciting, and kind of respond to them instead of us bringing the idea out the other direction. So the idea of really working in partnership to do something really different and really needed in practice, and that as my experience as a residential worker is that often workers do feel out of their depth in dealing with mental health issues, and that there was a real need for the training. So really exciting to think, we could work with Who Cares and we could do something really different that hadn't been done before.
Thomas and Rachel, why did you want to get involved, or how did you find out about it? Can you remember? I mean, Thomas, you came and got involved right at the beginning.
I think for me, I think Karen spoke to me about it, but the time she spoke about it to me, I was only 15. And I think the first time we all met was the day after my birthday. I've suffered mental health complications, and I felt a lot of staff never knew what to do. So I seen a very good outcome from what I got told, and I think it's lived up to the expectations so far.
Awesome. How about you, Rachel? You came on board a little bit later.
It was just to get knowledge in what people are going through in a care home and that.
And I got involved, I suppose, Piers, I met you initially through my role in Triumph, right? And obviously this project fits so well with the themes of Triumph, because we're looking at public mental health, but also one of our key groups is care experienced young people, and looking at co-producing research and services with young people.
The training course really tries to help people understand the reasons why people with care experience might suffer with issues around their mental health, often more than other young people. So it looks at the research into that, but it also highlights the lived experience of the young people that we spoke to with Who Cares. What did they say about the challenges that they faced in the care system with their mental health? But it also tries to kind of empathize with the workers' experience, you know, the challenges that workers face in really working in a relationship-based way, and what it's like to work with a whole team, and maybe not always get as much time with young people as you would like. So we talk about some of those issues, and then we look at case studies. So it's very experiential and it's very discussion based. It's not just giving information that people have to absorb, but we discuss case studies that were developed again alongside young people. Piers, do you want to say a bit about how we use the audio in it as well?
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to develop a creative approach to the training, because we thought that would really engage people in a way that sometimes training maybe doesn't. And so everybody involved in the project put on their best acting roles, and we recorded various voice clips to play the parts of young people experiencing distress and adults who were involved in supporting them in caring roles. And I think that was really effective.
I want to say a little bit about like what we did, like what the process was, and maybe other people can jump in.
At the start, I remember there was a big whiteboard, and myself and the other young people were there, and as well as the professionals could put it, were throwing ideas. What were the problems? What would be the ideal situation? How to deal with these problems? And I think it was really good that the young people, including myself, were the key people, and anything we said kind of went.
Themes that you generated, Thomas, you and the other young people, were the themes that informed the main messages that the project then has been communicating to all the people that we've been running the workshop with. So yeah, that was actually a really important part for me as well, I have to say, because I've been involved in in inverted commas participatory research before, but it's never been as equal as this, which is brilliant, because previous projects we've always come with an idea of what we're going to do, and then okay, there's been an element of participation, but it's been kind of preset in some ways, whereas this wasn't. We very much went on a co-produced journey. What was fascinating was how quickly we got to the crux of the experience. Well, one of the kind of main messages was that it didn't need to be specialist support. It needed to be how genuine, open, warm, compassionate the staff members were. That was absolutely central, and that's really not something I've ever read in a textbook about mental health support. It tends to be more kind of interventionist led, and technical kind of like ways of working.
Like as Pierce said, it's not usually they're set out, and we do this first, this next. But like I could be completely wrong, but it wasn't set out. Like there was obviously things that needed to happen, but there wasn't, okay, we're going to do this next week. It was just natural, and I think everyone got as much say as the next person.
I really like in the case studies that we ask people to think about how they would feel as well. And I think that's been really interesting for me in the case studies, that sometimes people find that really difficult and quite challenging and want to talk about what they would do, having to really pull people back and kind of go, yeah, but how would you feel? How would that make you feel?
About for Rachel and Thomas as well, I don't know if you'd been involved in delivering training before and how you found it. Like researchers get nervous too about running trainings and doing presentations, and kind of doing it so collaboratively has made it feel safer and nicer for me. And I just wondered how it has felt for both of you being involved in doing that.
And I was quite nervous doing it to start off with, but like once I got into the drift of it, like I was fine at doing it. But I think it's just me being nervous talking to new people.
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, it's nerve-wracking for everybody, even if you've got lots of practice. I've been so impressed by the way that you and Thomas, you've really developed it feels to me like you've both become more and more confident and just like, you know, really stepping into that role as presenters and co-facilitators. It's been lovely to see you do that, and you're both really, really good at it as well. Thomas, how has it been for you?
I'm the same as Rachel. I've never done this, delivering anything to people. And I remember the first time I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've done everything wrong. And I was just petrified in case I said the wrong thing or if I missed a word or anything. But I think it's gotten better. But it comes with being confident.
I wonder what the biggest challenge for everybody has been. Autumn, how about you?
I mean, I think it's been said many times, but doing kind of genuinely co-produced participatory research is time intensive. The need to build relationships and trust and to develop a rapport, and that you can't rush that. It's a process. And unfortunately, a lot of research is very driven by, you know, quick outputs and designed to measure out impact at the end in a very specific set of ways, instead of appreciating the process as being something having an impact itself. And if that process is good for the people involved, well, then that's a positive outcome as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like it's nourished me. There's some work that you do that nourishes and gives you a lot back, and other things that doesn't so much.
For me, it was really tricky when we had to move online, and we knew that a lot of the young people that we'd been working with maybe weren't going to be so comfortable moving online. And I think there was quite a period of that kind of readjustment as a group. And then thinking about, okay, we have wonderful young people who are involved in this and who are involved in this group, but how do we make sure that other young people's voices who maybe aren't so confident or don't have the interest in being actually involved in the kind of the core group and leading the workshops, how do we make sure that we make sure other perspectives are brought in as well? And I think it took us quite a while to kind of work out that we were going to have to take, for example, when we were writing the case studies, kind of take those case studies out to other young people and get their opinions on them, make sure that they were kind of relevant to their worlds, that they were things that they thought would actually happen, and then bring that back into the core group.
Just my challenge was confidence. Just building that up, because I've always thought myself as a confident person until it actually hits me in the face. But I think after the initial speaking to new people and realising it's not actually that bad, I think that was a real eye-opener and something I never thought I'd get over.
One of the challenges, though, for me, as I guess probably a youth worker, you could consider me in this role, has been like the relevance of the topic, especially throughout COVID. There were parts of me where I was considering, you know, is it safe to have young people involved when we're discussing mental health crisis, when, you know, they're going through stuff because we're in a pandemic. And then there was the other part of me that was like, you know, this is really real, and these are the sorts of things that we need to show, that young people are really suffering through this and they're not getting the right support that they need. So I think at times there were situations like that. I think that was the biggest challenge, was how do I support young people who are taking part over Zoom to discuss topics like this, and making sure that they're supported enough when we can't be in that space.
makes me feel in a different way about research, because it can be so interesting when you do it like this. It takes it away from the, the kind of, I suppose, the traditional view of what research feels like, very kind of like tedious and, plodding and all that, in actual fact. I mean, obviously there's bits where you have to sit down and do certain things, but actually the collaborative element of it has been fantastic, and just producing something together like this has been just a real joy, actually.
I wonder if just really quickly everybody could just kind of say one sentence about what they hope people learn from the training, what you'd like people to kind of take away from it.
I hope that people will have more empathy for the young people that they work with, and that they'll realize that it's not a technical thing. You don't have to be an expert to show compassion and kindness and connect with young people. And that's the thing that's going to make the biggest difference, and that they can make a difference.
I really like people to understand that they can make an impact, and it's not about referring young people on to other services all the time, although obviously that has an important place. But we all have an important role to play in supporting young people's mental health, and it's really therefore important to not shy away from that, and really begin to get into a much better understanding of the contribution that we can make.
I think I would really like people to not be afraid of using words like suicide, cuts, things like that. I would quite like them to feel more confident using those words, asking young people, are you feeling suicidal? Do you have a plan? Because I think that might help to inform them on what to do next and how they can help in that moment as well. If they have a real understanding of what that young person's going through, then I think that they will be able to, show a bit more emotion, a bit more empathy in that moment.
Thomas?
I think I'd like, if there's something if someone doesn't think is right, to challenge it, if such as a policy or a rule, if it doesn't work for a young person, to challenge it, to make it fit around that one young person at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Rachel?
Just that if the staff are struggling, like if they need help with something, that they can go higher up and ask them, or they could ask somebody about what's happening with the younger person.
Yeah, and for me, I think there's something about really thinking about what's happening behind young people's behaviour, and I think that really comes out in the case studies and came out really strongly from young people, that actually a lot of behaviour that might be seen as challenging, difficult behaviour is often hiding a lot of distress, and understanding that in those sorts of situations that can be really difficult for staff to deal with, but actually kind of stepping back and thinking about that and really listening to young people. And I also hope that they have learned something from the fact that Thomas and Rachel are so involved in the training, and the value of hearing young people's voices and involving young people in planning training and facilitating training.